This is episode 127 of the XY podcast with Hayley Knight. If you're not familiar with Hayley, you'll definitely be able to find her name in amongst the many conversations within the XY Facebook group. She's an ideas woman and a huge work-life balance advocate. She's got well over 10 years experience in financial services, and she's also the leading lady behind Contract Paraplanning Services. There's so many great ideas discussed in this episode, it was actually really hard to summarise them all in this podcast's written description. Hayley explains how to take a client's lifestyle and often intangible goals and successfully articulate them in a compliant SOA. She highlights the kind of advice process which she believes produces the best SOAs, and she also shares her top tips for advisors looking to outsource their paraplanning. We really hope you enjoy this episode, and as always, if there's something we could be doing to give you a better podcast experience, don't hesitate to reach out at xyadvisor.com.
Hub24 is an ASX-listed company with over $10 billion funds under management and one of the fastest-growing platforms in the market. Neither a bank nor part of a bank, Hub24 focuses entirely on connecting advisors to a broad range of investment solutions for their clients. Discover why other advisors think Hub24 are the best in the market and access the benefits of choice and efficiency for you and your clients with their market-leading managed portfolio solution. To find out more, visit hub24.com.au.
Hayley Knight. Pleasure to have you on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
You've been very, how did you come to attention? Emily said that, Hayley's going to be on the podcast. We've organised her to come on. And I knew of you. I was like, she contributes a lot to the Facebook group.
Yeah. I have a lot of questions for XY Advisor, that's for sure. I don't know how much I contribute though. But I used to work with Verse Wealth, Corey Wassell.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of how he spoke to Emily and said, you've got to talk to Hayley with the paraplanning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Corey does some cool stuff.
Yeah, he's definitely one to watch. It was really eye-opening to work with him because he's I've never worked with an advisor like that before. Just his entire approach is amazing. So, I really value working with him.
Well, I came into contact with Corey. I was in the finalists for the Rising Star at one point with Corey.
Yeah.
And it was really great to sort of to meet him at that time. And then since knowing him then, it's just been awesome to see what he's gone and done, because he's just... I can imagine he would have been quite challenging as a paraplanning client, because he would have really wanted to challenge maybe what other people were willing to. He's like, but what about if we do it this way? I can imagine.
Yes, it was definitely like that. I came from a background of... I'd been paraplanning for over 10 years at that point. And I think in my first email to him, I said, look, I know you need a paraplanner. I can write plans with my eyes closed, because I've just done so many of them. And then when I started working with him, he was like, oh, no, don't do that old kind of school stuff. We need to reteach you how to be a paraplanner. And it was really refreshing, because Corey is an advisor that I thought a financial planner was when I first started as a paraplanner. I saw them as kind of like a personal trainer for your money. And in my experience, I didn't see any of that. So I thought, well, this is how it is.
You sort of got stuck Corey, within that compliance framework.
Yes. And like a real kind of product focus. And then working with Corey, it was like, actually... we're focused on the goals. We actually really want to capture really good goals. And to write advice specific to that is just really refreshing.
Yeah, we should go into that, because I think a lot of people really struggle with the concept of how do you, the more intangible goals. So the goals that you look at them initially and it's hard to see a direct link if you're not trained in, or you don't have a process of how you would go about it, to the traditional toolkit of advice.
Exactly.
What can you share with everyone out there on how to do that? Like, how do you take a goal that's like, I just want to feel like it's one of those really intangible goals. Like I like puppies or something. And I don't want to buy one, but I just like puppies.
Yeah. I don't know if I can tell you the puppies. But say some of the examples that we worked with were like clients who said, I might start a family in a couple of years. We might want kids in a couple of years. And that is not necessarily a financial goal when you think initially about it, but then when you dig down, it's like, actually it is. You're going to go down to one income. You need to factor in how long you're going to be on maternity leave, what that looks like. And so I think everything kind of boils down to being something about money as a tool to achieve a goal. Even if it's like something as simple as, I want to do craft classes. I really love craft. And it's like, fantastic. So they're going to cost this much. Cool. Well, let's have a look at your budget and see if we can work out this, and that can get you to your craft classes.
And then segment that out.
Exactly. So there's not much that doesn't have some kind of money involvement with it, apart from a feeling, I suppose. But
even then,
yes, we could manage their money to give them the confidence to look for things to make them happier.
So even if they're not clear exactly what that's going to be yet, it's how do you get to that state where they can?
Exactly. Yeah. I totally agree.
I'm curious about, so like because there's a lot of different ways of paraplanning. Like there's a lot of different, I guess, where the paraplanner sits in the process for some practices is much higher than where it sits. Like for some structures, the advisor practically tells the paraplanner, like the paraplanner is just pretty much following direct instructions, and there's no actual sort of extra layer of value that's added at that stage.
Yeah.
I'm presuming, I don't think, from meeting you and understanding a bit more about you, I imagine you would struggle to sit in that bucket. But it is literally like, it's like, we've got to get this piece of paper done.
Yeah.
Done. Like I'm really interested in where you sit along that sort of linearity, and how, like, I'm presuming, like, once you start working with Corey for a bit more, you would have started to go, okay, I sort of know I can actually take it from this stage now, instead of him being more prescriptive and running with it. Yeah.
Do you mean me personally, or as a paraplanner in general, and the role in general?
You personally.
Yeah.
And then also, like, maybe a bit of commentary around that.
I don't write plans anymore. I used to finish it up about a year ago, more so manage the business now. But when I did do it, I very much enjoyed being involved in the strategy, because that's what you learn. Like, most paraplanners have some form of education behind them as well. And to be actually involved in the strategy with the advisor, looking into alternatives and things like that, and actually coming together and go, yeah, I really genuinely think this is the best option for them. It makes it a lot easier to write the SOA as well, because you understand how you've come to those recommendations. But I would say most paraplanners like to be involved in the strategy.
Whether they're allowed to or not is
whether they're allowed to. Exactly. Because you don't, like, with all the education you need to, well, you should do as a paraplanner, it's kind of wasted skills if it's just like, here you go, put this into a document now. We want to use our skills. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, if you've got someone doing something, you might as well get them to do, like, add value to it.
Exactly. You could just get an administrator to write, like, put together a document, essentially. But a paraplanner is there to give their feedback, like to bounce ideas off when it comes to strategy, use their skills, because it's like a second opinion on what you're thinking. Maybe they think of something else that you haven't considered before. So yeah, I think often they're underutilized, paraplanners in general, but most paraplanners I know love the technical part of it as well.
Totally. Like, that's how you gravitate towards that space.
Yeah.
I'm curious around, like, you would deal with a wide range of licensees.
Yeah.
And we can walk down this path and sort of talk about it a bit, and I'll see what I can get out of you.
Okay.
But there's a whole lot of different compliance requirements.
Yeah.
Do you see any correlation between more compliance and better advice?
No.
Thank you.
Absolutely not.
Now what do I ask? I got my soundbite.
And there goes the business.
No correlation between more compliance And the quality of advice. Well, it's good to know that from someone that sees a lot of advice. Have you ever talked to ASIC directly about that?
No.
Would you be game to?
I would consider it.
Yeah.
I feel as though I'm in a good position too, because we see such a wide range of SOAs. Like, we work for all different types. We work for the big dealer groups, the boutiques, the self-licensees, the one-man bands. We see all different types of SOAs. And in my experience and what I've seen, the more compliance as in the more disclosures and disclaimers in an SOA, the more bases they're trying to cover. So it leads me to kind of think, is there something being hidden deeper? Like, if you had something, put it this way, if you were to explain something to someone, you would want to keep it as simple and clear as possible, right? To make sure that that message is conveyed easily to them and it's easily understood.
Yep.
If you then take that same message and then fill it with all this, like, this is how you, plant a flower, how plant a plant, right? But don't
this
use
is where the seed
soil.
came from.
Yeah, and this, yeah, and be careful of this. Oh, did I tell you about this? Maybe use this shovel, and it's totally clouding that entire message. And it's like, hang on, what was I doing? What are we actually doing in the first place? So the clearer we can make it and the simpler we can make it, I think the better, which leads me to believe the shorter SOAs are the best ones because they're straight to the point, they're transparent, and there's no double up of what I call fat or fluff in the SOA.
Bullshit, you mean?
Yeah, bullshit.
Yeah, cool.
I said I wasn't going to swear.
It's not a real swear word. Technical term. So, yeah, I get you. I've always, like, there's a correlation between a whole lot of wording that's come into these SOAs and products attempting to be closer to advice than it should be.
Yes, yeah.
And we've talked to lawyers. We've had, like, lawyers on the podcast, and they've said, like, if you look at ASIC, what they've said, there is the possibility to do what some of these clients that you've got do, which is like a short SOA that's easy to understand. Yeah. So why can't we do this?
Well, this is something that I'm actually been talking to people just about actually today, and a lot of people are thinking along the same lines, taking the SOA, which essentially hasn't changed in the last, well, at least since I've been a junior paraplanner, which is 10, 15 years ago. This SOA hasn't changed. It's just this stagnant PDF document, right? Taking that and going, this doesn't work. Clients aren't reading it. They can't understand it, and they're just signing it because they're trusting their advisor, right? If that's the case, why don't we take this back, start absolutely fresh and go, we've got so much new, amazing technology available to us. Why aren't we looking at this a different way? What can an SOA look different? Can we use videos, hyperlinks, live documents, websites, all of this stuff that we can use to communicate to the client, but still have something that's simple and easy to read if it's being read, easy to understand, and more than anything, compliant. Right? Why can't we do that? Why are they still looking like this massive? Some of them are getting bigger, which just is amazing.
Yeah, I think these institutions reach into their toolkit, and their toolkit at the moment, to like when they have a problem, and their toolkit at the moment is made up of compliance, audit, remediation, legal.
Yep.
There's not many client advisor experienced people sitting in that toolkit.
No.
That there's no. I don't think there's many psychologists sitting in that toolkit of actually a filter over everything, going actually what's gonna work.
Yeah.
So the issue you got there is that is the toolkit that they're going to when they have problems or when they don't know how to deal with something.
Yep.
And because of the structure of that toolkit, the solutions are coming out as we've seen them.
Yeah.
One good thing is that I have seen. I think there's a bit of a tide turning because I think especially with the Royal Commission, there's increased acknowledgement that the whole covering up of or papering over I guess a more direct link to product than is maybe ideal sometimes, or the fact that the licensee is owned by a product provider, papering over that with more wording is not. It's the lawyers are finally figuring out that it actually has no legal benefit.
Yeah.
So it's taken a while. Hopefully that pain gets felt more that's not helping them, because then maybe they'll start to release, start to drop stuff down, because it's just practical.
You would think so, right? I can remember one part of the Royal Commission I was watching. There was this woman up there. Her complaint was about she didn't know what the insurance commissions, the advisor was receiving after implementing the advice. So she had a copy of this SOA. She had provided it for evidence to them, and the person asking the question said, "Can I refer you to this page of your SOA?" She flips through it, and she goes, This is the disclosure of all of the insurance commissions. It's right here. And this woman was literally just shocked. She was just like, I had no idea that was there. And when I saw that, I thought, you've gone through all these stages of complaint, right? All the way to get up to the point of being interviewed at a Royal Commission. And even still, you don't understand what's in the SOA. And that, to me, says we have failed her blankly. It's, if you would have read over this quite a few times, I can only assume she would have. And if she still didn't see an entire page of insurance disclosures, it's just like, oh, wow, that is really, we've got this totally wrong, right? Which is kind of, I think this is instigating people going, okay, what we've been doing doesn't work. Let's go back to square one and rethink this whole thing. And I think you're totally right. A lot of people have already started the ball rolling, which is really exciting to see.
Oh, it's so cool. Some of the tech that people are playing with. I am presuming, you've seen some of the new ways that you can present advice. What can you share?
No, I don't know much. But
not necessarily technology, but maybe styles of presentation.
Styles.
So even PowerPoints. I used to take my SOA and I used to go, that's a piece of crap. The bit that all the intelligence in there is great, but everything else that's in there was just,
it's a technicality.
I hated the thing.
Yes.
Why would I want to put something like that? So I'm like, okay, so what do we need to, you go through the compliance manual, you go, what do you need to actually clearly disclose to the client? That. Okay. That goes in the PowerPoint. Yeah. And then the rest of the PowerPoint is actually made up of the stuff that's useful. It makes it easy for the client to understand.
Yeah. A couple of advisors are doing that I know of already. One of the really cool things that I've seen is it's kind of like a live website, right? And you can put the entire SOA on there, and it basically shows you exactly where the client's looking. So if they're sitting on the fees, it will say how long they looked at those fees for. And then so you can get a gauge of what the client is actually looking at, what they're interested in.
So you send it out to them digitally.
Yes, digitally, and a PDF I think still needs to be done for the technicality, but they're looking at potentially digital signing as well, trying to get that through. So basically it spits out a report to say, cool, so your client was most interested in this. They spent X amount of time there. They clicked on this video 3 times. They watched it to this amount. So that also...
And this is before the statement of us meeting? Or... So
you can do it at any stage. Okay. This could be for your SOA.
Yeah.
Right? It could be your engagement terms. This gives you so much information as to how to tailor what you're giving to your client, because you can see directly what your clients are interested in, what they're spending the most time in. If they don't look at the SOA, you'll also see that.
Yeah, which probably happens a lot.
And it's another layer of compliance. Speaking with the FPA today, they were actually telling me about the level of you could use that to a point where if you're in a meeting with a client and you've got this website open, right, and you're talking through and you're explaining the concepts with them, if there ever was an event where they came back and complained and said, they didn't explain it to me, I didn't understand this, you could have a report right there and said, yeah, actually, you could see we sat in that section for 15 minutes in the meeting. So it's extra compliance. Yeah.
We do our podcast in a bit of a grouping, and we're talking about this previously. It's sort of, there's that gap in capturing. A lot of the time, advisors are maybe having the right conversations.
Exactly.
And it's just grabbing that information. How do you grab the essence of what's going on? How do you capture it from a compliant record, and also for the paraplanner?
Yeah.
And have it translate through the process and then make it to the SOA.
Exactly.
And that, I think, it seems like it's a simple thing, but that's if you think about, and I'll let you tell me, but like I've always seen that one of the biggest problems when I was dealing with a paraplanner was me. Like, and the thing is, and this is as an advisor, and I think the thing is, and this is the challenge, a lot of advisors may not accept that that's their role in the quality of the outcome. And and that's the bit that needs to, like, you guys can only do so much with what you're given.
Exactly.
And to me, I just continue to, I've ended up rolling into tech because I believe that most of the problems that emerge down the rest of the advice process relate to a lack of data capture up front.
Yeah.
And the context and the quality and I could link most problems to that point.
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel about that.
I would agree. I think it's speaking more so from an outsourcing point of view, the way we work is we have the same paraplanner with the same advisor, for the reason being is that they kind of establish a relationship. The paraplanner gets to understand the advisor's preferences in the SOA, and it's a lot easier then for the advisor to pass over their recommendations to get the SOA written. But in the first 5-10 SOAs, you'll see a lot of to and fro. It's back and forth because the paraplanner is learning what that advisor wants. You could be working with the same licensee as you have 50 other advisors, but that advisor might like certain tables set out certain ways and that kind of thing. And I think that relationship needs to have a lot of communication there, especially if you want your SOA customized and personalized really to that client. Context is so important, and handing that over to the paraplanner, you have to invest a fair bit of time to make sure that it's fully grasped, because we're not in the meetings, and it's hard to read through a file note and go, I get it, I get the strategy, but I'm not sure how that client was feeling. Are they apprehensive about this? Do I need to really nail down? How far do you go with the strategy? Exactly. How much education does this client have? Do I need to really, really break this down? Or is it just high level kind of stuff? So that relationship between advisor and paraplanner is really important. Communication is paramount. I think you're not going to get the SOA that you want until you have really strong communication with them.
Well, it's often, and I guess if you dovetail what I was saying with what you're saying there, it's if you can't fix the problem that I was talking about, you just got to have a really good relationship. You can't fix that advisor giving you better information, then you just got to really learn to understand them better.
Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah. Another skill of a good paraplanner.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's I think you hear people that sort of go to a new paraplanning firm or whatever, they try a new one, and What you're talking about there is like you can see how people would have bad experiences in that first because there's often a disconnect.
Yeah, it's like we like to say to our new clients, it's the same process as if you brought on a paraplanner in-house. You need to train them. Like they've probably written 1,000 SOAs before, they haven't written yours. So you need to train them about how you do things, how you want your SOAs, and there's going to be the teething process. It will be with anyone. It's just trying to manage it and make it as simple as possible. Yeah.
Yes, it's an ongoing battle. But hats off to you for not just dealing with obviously all the advisor clients out there, but also having quite a team and all the people manage that goes into that. It's I'd like to take credit for it, but it's really Karen and Sue that do all the work. I just do all the talking. Okay. All right, fair enough. Karen and Sue?
To be totally honest.
Well, congrats, Karen and Sue. Well done.
Great business, guys. Well done.
Well, moving away from your business, the Royal Commission. Like, I guess you would have seen a lot of the discussion for advisors and what they think about it and just general commentary. I'm interested, like, just from a paraplanning world, what are the things that you've gone, okay, now we're going to need to do this, or now, like, what are the impacts? Like, how?
I don't think it has really changed. I think as a result, we've kind of received this, we've got this uncertainty as well. If an advisor has uncertainty about what his role, what the future of his role is and their firm is, I shouldn't say his all the time, their firm is, it's the same with paraplanner. Our job exists because the advisor writes the work, right?
That's a good point. So like an advisor rating article coming out saying 70% of advisors are going, that probably makes a paraplanner a bit nervous.
Yeah, it's like, well, okay, I'm going to have to find some new skills. But so I think there is a level of uncertainty, but it's kind of like, for me personally, it's just let's sit back and watch and see what comes of this. I don't have a lot of control. Well, I don't have any control. It's more so I just want to see what happens. But in terms of what we've seen in the outsourcing world, because compliance is kind of ramped up, we've seen things like licensees getting very tough on outsourcers. Like outsourcers that were fine beforehand now have to jump through all these hoops and more administration for advisors as well, just kind of ticking all the BID forms and, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
And do you guys take on the best interest duty? No.
Not our team.
I do not blame you. Oh yeah, do you want to? Can you guys take care of that thing that's got an endless scope of liability? Can you take that one on? Like, I got other clients to see.
I know.
You must have been asked a lot.
Every so often, but I think advisors know it might be probably pushing it a little bit.
Well, it's interesting, like with the discussions you're saying with the FBA today, what sort of things are floating up in these discussions? What sort of...
We're really looking for, you may or may not know, but myself and there's 4 others of us, we're a group kind of putting together, I suppose, similar to a paraplanning version of XY Advisor.
Okay.
Right.
Cool.
So Mel has created this Facebook group called the Paraplanner Hub.
Yeah, nice.
So it's only, I think, about 6 months old, and we've got 350 members at its very same kind of environment as XY Advisor. Like, I've got a tip for this. Can you guys help me with that? Really community kind of based. And part of the conversation we're now having with associations is getting more paraplanners involved in events, because traditionally they're kind of seen as, from a paraplanner's point of view, they're seen as for advisors. They're not really for paraplanners. And we're trying to change that and get more paraplanner specific content, networking events, tables at road shows, PD days, just getting them involved in the community and just kind of providing an online resource for them, very similar to XY Advisor. You guys have shown us how it's done, so we're copying.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's really good. So that's part of the conversations we're having now with the associations, just to get them involved and some representation and that at the events.
Yeah, because I suppose there is a disconnect. Like, it's sort of, there's all this stuff that goes on. Maybe you think about advisors in their practices, even whether it's outsourced or insourced. Like the advisor goes, or associate advisor maybe, mostly, but the advisor's going off to this event.
Yeah.
The stuff going on outside, the team's got no idea what's going on out there.
Yeah.
And the advisor comes back and they say stuff to the team, whatever they've...
Yes.
And
yeah.
The team's just dependent on whatever the advisor says.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Which, depending on the advisor, may be quite a limited scope of what was available to be consumed out there.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, there's a disconnect. It's sort of, and I think it's probably looking at going, okay, well, paraplanners are in a position to really help advisors help themselves.
Yep.
And how do you get them more involved? So they're more across, I guess. I think probably one of the biggest gaps is that, we're talking about the context of the front end, making it to that middle point where the paraplanning goes on. How to paraplan? Maybe one of the things for you guys would be awesome. It'd be maybe get or just come across the XY Advisor event, but get a panel of advisors, and it could be all about how asking about the conversation that goes on and learning about things that translate to what they say.
Yes, yeah. How can a paraplanner bring more value to an advisor as well? Totally. Do you want them involved in meetings? Can they take a bit more of the strategy? Paraplanners have the skills. It's just about making sure you optimize those and use them. That's what you're paying them for. So
I think it's almost, it's a bit like advisors. So the only solution for advisors, whatever happens over the next few years, doesn't matter if all the things get up in the Royal Commission or not, is to adjust your business model.
Yeah.
Because technology, consumer demand, what people want, actually getting closer to the client and their demands, it's going to require changes in what the value proposition is.
Yeah.
And it could be scoping out sort of different styles of services. A lot of people do cash flow. There's a lot of, even just having meetings that are just focused on dream discovery and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And the same with paraplanners. What paraplanners can do, if you think about what offices where they've got someone that's in the office and they're sort of in the meeting, or they do, the outsourced guys can do digital versions of that. They can reach further into the practice and reach further into the value chain and...
Exactly.
I don't know, I'm just thinking about it out loud.
Yeah, exactly. You could even go down the path of having as you said, paraplanner risk specialist or paraplanner super specialist, and they're the ones that advisors go to for very complicated SOAs, or advisors who are only wanting to give risk advice. They can just go straight to that paraplanner. And there are some paraplanners out there I know that are just do risk. And they're amazing at it.
Yep.
So it could be just adapting to suit, these little boxes of what did you want to specialize? If so, cool. You've got a whole niche over here that you can service.
Yep.
Definitely. I think they can adapt.
Well, there's a lot of parallels with advisors niche.
Exactly.
Although, I don't know where you could go with this, but where do you think an advisor should stop in the process?
Of niching?
No, in terms of, so if you look at the advice as a linear process where stuff has to be done, where do you think the advice should just let go and step to the side and wait until the paraplanner's done their job?
I really think probably the most worthwhile use... Okay, let me start again. The best SOAs I've seen typically come from paraplanners who've been involved in the client meetings.
Yep.
Because they understand the client with the advisor, they understand the discussions, they can put more context, use that context and personalise the SOA. if the paraplanner is not going to be involved in that advice meeting, I really think another good way of doing this is having that client meeting where you're talking about, we've decided on what the advice is going to be. Essentially, you come back and have a debrief with your paraplanner straight away and say, this is the context. The advisor is really excited about this, but a little bit concerned about that. This is what I'm thinking. Can you go ahead and put together a strategy and let me know if you come up with anything else, kind of thing. Yep. I really think if they can, that's probably the best use of the paraplanner's time.
So the closer they can get to that meeting and the advisor.
Exactly. And a paraplanner is also really good if the advisor isn't available, because the paraplanner understands maybe those pain points or those points where clients might need more coaching. If the advisor isn't available, a paraplanner is just as skilled to have a conversation with them. It could be something, say, along the lines of the stock market crashed last night. Yep. It could be just simply like, well, the advisor's not available. Do you want to talk to our paraplanner? And they can talk them through it as well, understanding that context. So I do think paraplanners can definitely be... you can get more from them out of the process. It's just about relinquishing the control.
Letting go. Yeah, I've seen with a number of advisors that is a bit of an issue.
Yeah.
And then they're whinging about how much work they've got to do, and it's because they won't give it up.
Yeah. Just like you need to trust your paraplanner. They're qualified to do it, and you're paying them to do it. And I'm sure most of them would be very happy with that kind of opportunity, because they also are growing. They're learning new technical skills as well and everything. And that's what they're there for.
Totally.
Yeah.
So guys, and girls, let go.
Let it go. Yes.
It go. The paraplanner's there to help. That's Yeah, I went through a period where I realised that okay. Yeah, I get frustrated by the process quite easily.
Yeah.
So it was quite easy for me to just and I think I might have gone too far, in terms of handing.
Oh really?
Yeah. I was too trusting. I was like, you got this, yeah? It caused a bit more back and forth. But but that person learnt a lot.
Yes.
When they worked with me. They learned a lot because I was the sort of on the opposing spectrum of being very trusting and just going.
That's a great opportunity for a paraplanner too, though, to kind of, especially for career paraplanners who aren't looking to become an advisor, that's really great to be able to see, get a little bit more than what they normally would from the SOA. I think that's a really good opportunity for them.
From an employment engagement standpoint as well, people always want to learn.
Yes, yeah. Keep challenging them. Keep it interesting. Yeah.
What proportion of paraplanners do you think actually would like to ideally make the move to advice?
Oh, really? That's a really tough question.
Yeah.
I would probably say, as a really rough guess, I would probably say a third.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of career paraplanners, especially paraplanners who've been doing it for, a number of years. I think most people who are using it as a stepping stone to becoming an advisor usually are only paraplanners for a couple of years before they've got enough of a client base to become a full-time advisor. I would say probably around 30% is a rough guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd accept that for sure. It's the number of people, there's a lot of impediments to people making that transition. And I guess, I think there's probably people in your situation potentially could have become an advisor.
I tried it.
He did? Okay, look, tell me about that. What happened?
I tried it. I had probably been a paraplanner for about 6 or 7 years. And when I started this job, the advisor said, look, we want you, to become an advisor, but you'll still write your own plans kind of thing. I was happy being a paraplanner, but I thought, hey, I've got the technical knowledge. how hard can it be? And then I very quickly learned that I'm quite introverted. So for me, sitting at a table discussing technical things with a client and trying to explain it to them, for me was like, oh my gosh, what, like they're going to ask me a question and then am I just confusing them, or it's just like I just didn't have, maybe it was just a confidence thing, but for me, I did probably that for about 2 months, and I went back to the advisor and I was like, listen, I'll write all your plans. I'm not doing that. It's not for me. I'd prefer to sit down and really think about the SOA and be able to put it together and explain it through the document rather than...
Get deep. Don't talk to them about it. Just get it done.
And I think a lot of advisors are really quite relatively extroverted. They're people that like to sit down and chat and are really good at explaining things verbally, whereas a paraplanner, I'm not saying they're not good at doing that, but they usually have better skills in explaining things that are written through writing. So well, that's what I found for myself. So
it's a really interesting space, that whole like what type of personality makes for a good advisor. Like when I started advising, to an extent, I came in on natural extroversion, like just ability to just talk to people and like the usual stupid dude, false sense of confidence, just no apparent foundation for it. It was just there. And I can do this. Yeah, all right.
I'll be right.
And you're there and you end up doing it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Like, it does not mean it's a good thing just because it can be done. So, like, I think a lot of advisors that are introverted actually do a better job.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Well, because introverted people are better at listening.
Oh, good point.
So, when you're talking about the explaining and things like that, yes, so an extrovert person would be more comfortable doing that, but the explaining isn't where as much of the value sits.
That's right. Yeah, I've never thought of it that way.
So I actually think, like, if you think about a lot of that, let's say that 30% of paraplanners, I think there's a lot of good advisors sitting in there. A lot of good advisors.
Yeah.
And I think there's definitely, I guess, the gender side of things that come into play, and I guess like the way men and women generally, like, obviously you can't generalize too much, but there's certain characteristics that sometimes mean that false sense of bravado or like confidence, it's not there to lean on to get into that role if you haven't done it before.
Yeah.
And like if you look at some of the female advisors come through, and even male advisors that were paraplanners as well, they become really good advisors because they're much more considered.
Yeah,
I'm sure their paraplanners really appreciate them a lot more than the other advisors, because I'm pretty sure they put a lot more detail into what they're communicating than these extroverted people that just out there having a good chat.
Yeah.
So. I really do think, and I think like that paraplanning group, I really think that there's a transition for a lot of people that would be in there to getting into advice. People that I guess are more conscious of the compliance requirements, more like we can say that all those things don't add value.
Yeah.
And you can get most people agreeing a lot of these things that we have, that compliance requirements are.
Yeah.
But they're there and they have to be done.
Yeah.
And if you don't do them, there's a word that you're worried about saying, is swearing. You're fucked. Your licensee, your auditor, then your licensee, and then ASIC, they're not going to be very happy. So that stuff has to be done.
Yes.
So there's, whether we see value in it or not, there's a requirement to have that skill set to be able to actually pay attention to those details and get them done.
Yeah.
And at the same time, huge value in listening really well to clients.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And some of the best advisors I know, one thing that they are very good at listening is I find a lot of them pause once you finish speaking, rather than, because they're instead thinking of the response then after you've spoken, as opposed to while they're also listening and you're talking. So that makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah,
you don't. Hey, it's hard being an extrovert. Like, you constantly got this stuff that wants to come out, and you just gotta, like the example of what you're saying. You're it's like with these podcasts. It's always like it's been much better than it used to be, but it can be quite. It's something you got to really train yourself to.
Yes. Yeah.
To like keep your mouth shut for a little bit. Like, listen to the other person.
Yeah.
But like it's a really interesting space, and I've got a strong belief that there's that 30% is there, and a lot of them could be advisors.
I agree. I definitely think there's scope there. It's just a matter of them seeing it as an opportunity. I think starting from a paraplanner base will make them much better advisors as well, because when they do eventually have a paraplanner writing their plans, they'll know exactly what they want, what they need to pass on to the paraplanner as well. So,
It's definitely something to pursue. The other thing to consider there is the education requirements.
Yes.
A lot of them are well on their way. So you're going, there's got a lot of people that are going to be leaving. And where are these advisors coming from? What, they're going to come out of uni, like they've got to study for 5 years or whatever, and then they qualify to be an advisor. They've got a professional year. The closest source to closing the gap, because you would argue that there is a gap in the number of advisors.
Yeah.
Like, as much as people go on about like, the challenge of getting clients and things like that, definitely it can be challenging to get clients, but the need is there. There's enough people out there that need advisors.
Yeah.
They may not get to come into contact with the one that they're going to resonate with or that has a value proposition that they connect with, but there's a need there. So these people, they come from somewhere, and then like the university standpoint is like, it's a good starting point, but there's still there's a longer experience runway that has to go on. Yeah,
I agree.
So a paraplanner is...
Yeah,
they could save the industry.
We've always said that. No.
You're like, we already do. If we weren't here, you guys would have been fucked a long time ago. Like,
I don't know how many times we have to tell you, but no.
So is there anything you'd like to share about, like, is there any events with this paraplanning group that you'd like to share?
Not yet. We're still very much in baby stages. We actually only just had our second meeting on Wednesday, where we're talking more about where things are going and what we're going to focus on. So, we're focusing on basically building connections to get into events and things like that. Getting the paraplanners going, we're setting up networking events, and training webinars, all that kind of stuff. All those smaller things that we can do that will gradually, we're hoping, will build momentum over the longer term. But we're in baby stages, but I don't think it's going to take long to kind of take off.
Just get out there and do stuff.
Yeah.
Like, as long as it's useful, interesting, valuable stuff, people gravitate towards that.
Yes,
so, Like, and you should you've already come into contact with Emily. Like, if you got any questions, talk to her. She understands how XY advisor works better than us these days. So
she's amazing. She's amazing. She has often answered a lot of my questions. So. Yeah, she's a good resource. Yeah,
Em's awesome. But it's really cool. And we're happy to help with this endeavour as much.
Awesome. Thank you for that. That'd be great. So, you've set up a good model for us to kind of copy. So, yeah, that's the best way we describe it, is like a paraplanning version of XY Advisor.
Hey, whatever people understand. It's cool.
Could it be XY Paraplanner, maybe?
Maybe. Have to sub-license that brand. It's all right. We'll do a good rate for you. So your business, the that you run with, so this paraplanning business.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about
it. My business is Contract Paraplanning Services. So we've been operating for now, I think, about 8 years. It was actually founded by Lee Shodell.
Was it originally?
Yeah. So
That's awesome.
yeah, and I took over probably about 2 years after she had it. So back in 2013 or so, and it's amazing. We've got 23 paraplanners now.
Okay.
2 fantastic managers, Karen and Sue, who just saved my life. We are all onshore paraplanners. And the way, as I said, we work is the advisor has a dedicated paraplanner, so they have as much as they could be, they have like a direct relationship with them. The only difference is they're not in the office. So, it works. It seems to work really well. And it's just probably my favourite thing about it is that I really love the freedom contracting gives everyone. I have a lot of mums come to me going, oh God, I'm about to finish maternity leave. I really don't want to go back full time. Do you have anything for me? And just to go, yeah, we do. And you can work from home and you can choose how much you want to work. And you actually don't have to work with jerks. And, you know.
What are you trying to say, Hannah?
You know, we are as much for the paraplanners as we are the advisors. So it's
great for mothers in that situation.
It's perfect. We are people who travel a lot. And it's just like, cool beans, go. And you can travel overseas and work, provided the licensee lets you do that.
Yeah.
That's a disclaimer.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I love it. I myself work from home as well, and it's the ultimate kind of lifestyle business for me.
It's a good quality time with the kids.
Yeah. And it gives you the freedom and the choice that you just wouldn't have if you worked full time and, you know, getting in to and from the office and, you know, those kind of demanding things.
I find the headspace that you get, like, obviously you got to be a self-starter if you're working from home. You have to be. And a lot of, there is a lot of people that it just doesn't suit. They just don't have that, what you need to go, I got work to do, let's do some work. But like the freedom of, because you're not forced to be a certain place, when you wake up in the morning, it's a bit more of an adventure.
Yes, it is. I had to train myself to do it, and I'm quite a structured person. When I first started working from home, it was often like that. I never had set an alarm because I can get up whatever time. I can't anymore. I've got kids. They're my alarm clock. But before kids, it was like get up whatever time you want. You know, if you want to go and have coffee, go and have a coffee. But you can't fall into the rut of doing everything that you want to do and then going, I'll get to that work later. I normally found that it was like, get the work done now and then take the rest of the day to do what you want to do and have that freedom. It's a bit of discipline. It's kind of like going to the gym. You don't have to go. You probably should.
Yeah.
And then after a couple of days of not going to the gym, you're like, well, okay, I have to go today. It's the same with working from home.
Totally.
Things just build up. So yeah, it is a discipline, but it's not. It will fall into being a habit.
Yeah.
One
of the things I've found challenging is sometimes scoping what you're doing in the day, because it's easy to just let it blow out at the same time, and you do too much work.
Yeah.
That's healthy.
Yes.
For the day as well. So it's that.
The balance.
It's that balance. Yeah. Especially if you're self-employed, I think it's a bigger challenge because there's always an unlimited.
Yes.
Set of things you could be doing.
There's always something to do. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. I used to find that, but now I just set like times where it's like at 6 o'clock I'm definitely finished. It's bed and bath time with the kids, but then I can go back in at 8 p.m. if I really need to. But it's kind of, that's the exception rather than the rule kind of thing. So, I agree. It's really just a learned discipline, I think. You have to learn what works for you.
How do you balance that freedom?
Yeah.
If people wanted to reach out to the business, where do they go?
Yeah, a website is contractpps.com.au. Hit me up on LinkedIn. Send me a message there.
Yeah, videos. I've seen a couple of videos for you on
Have
LinkedIn.
you?
Yeah.
Oh, God. They're very amateur, so probably
the
don't
cool
refresh that.
The cool paraplanner. No other paraplanners doing videos on LinkedIn.
Really?
Yeah, just send the trend. Maybe there'll be more now.
I was going to say, I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, though.
That could be one of your content social media for the paraplanner.
Oh, yeah. You could be like me. Oh, gosh. Wow. I think a lot of those were recorded from my kitchen because they were the best lighting in there.
Hey, it's authentic. That's it.
And those are my dirty dishes on the sink. But here I'm going to talk to you about paraplanning.
Well, for everyone out there, Hayley's a real person. And it's been a pleasure having you on the podcast. So thank you
so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.